Hey guys, this is Colby. Today I'm going to show you how to model a Sci-Fi sword inside Blender using the annotation tool. And this is going to be my 100 subscriber special as a thank you video. So let's get started. Starting off, I'm going to get rid of the default cube in the camera. For now, I'll add the camera back in later. But I'm just trying to clear up the scene so I can make it easier to model. I'm going to save the file and name it Sci-Fi sword. You can just, save it as a name here and then anywhere you want. I've already got it saved. And there we go. So I'm going to switch to front view with 1 on my numpad, front orthographic, and then we can start drawing. So I'm going to switch to the annotation tool, just press T, and click on this if you haven't known that already, and then we can start drawing. So I'm going to start drawing the design with the handle, or I guess the hilt first, and I'm going to move up towards the end of the blade. I just like to start off with the guard and the hilt area first, just to kind of set the tone for the rest of the sword. So here I'm just going to go with like very blocky shapes, try to keep them straight. That's going to be the guard. Now I'm going to start modeling the hand guard, or the hilts, I guess. So let's just do like I'll try not to make it too curved in the planing, because we can do that later on with the subdivision surface modifier. But for now, I'm just going to keep it very like simple and straight. So that way it's easier to kind of model initially. So there's my guard, my hilts. I'm going to do a pommel. It's going to be blocky again. So it just kind of fits the sci-fi style, just like having really blocky stuff. There we go. I'm going to erase this part. This is all I'm going to be doing for the rest of the annotation. It's just making little shapes. Pretty much with this consistent amount of detail, it's very simple. That way it's easier to model. So I'll show you what the rest of the blade looks like when I'm done modeling, or annotating, I mean. So I'll see you in a second. So one other thing is that you can use the control while holding down left mouse, so that way you can erase stuff. And you can also press Control Z to undo it. So there we go. But let's get to the rest of the annotation. So here's the rest of my annotation. I'm pretty happy with it, and I can add more later on. Once I'm modeling, I'll add like little extra details that I haven't planned out, because details are pretty like random most of the time. So I'm gonna change the annotation color to maybe like green or something to make it a little bit easier to see. So there we go. And now we can start modeling. I'm gonna start modeling the hilt here, and then I'll model the pommel, the guard, and then just kind of move up from there. Let's get started. So in order to start modeling, I'm going to go out of annotation mode into this mode here. That's the one we started with. And so let's start modeling the hilts. So my shift and right click right here to set the cursor, which is also the spawn point of the cube. So Shift A, create a cube right about here. I'm going to go into edit mode, wireframe mode. So press Z and then click on wireframe, or you can click on this button here. So this will switch between all the renders styles. I'm going to go into vertice mode and just kind of select these top bits, move them up here, and move these down over here. Right about there. So now we have a cube. Let's press E on this face. So go into face mode, extrude, and I'm going to move this bit over this way. There we go. So let's start editing some like the curvature, make it a bit more rounded instead of so blocky. So in order to add some curvature, pretty simple way I like to do it is to go out of top view or front view and just, switch back to this viewer here, user perspective. And I'm gonna add an edge loop here and here. So Control R, 1 right there, and Control R, 1 right here. It's hard to see the one right here because it's blocked by the annotation, but that's all right. But we're just gonna select both. So Shift Alt, once you're in edge mode, select the two. So they should be kind of like overlapping a little bit. They should be highlighted orange. Scale it on the y-axis, so S and then Y, and then S and X to scale it outward a little bit. So now we have a little bit of a curvature. And so now I'm gonna make this little part here a little bit skinnier. So I'm gonna select all these faces right here, and I'm just gonna do that. So now let's work on the pommel. So I'm gonna create another cube. So shift right click right about here, cube. So shift A, scale it down again. And I'm just gonna kind of scale it on the x-axis. It doesn't have to follow the annotation perfectly, just an idea. So I'm going to go to front view, extrude this way, and scale it down a little bit, right about there. I'm gonna do the same over here. So extrude, select this face here, press E to extrude, and scale it on the z-axis, so SZ. We could also select both these faces, and S, then Y, and then scale it down a little bit to create a little bit of a bevel. And I'm fine with that. So now let's go ahead and model the guard right here. So shift right click, set the spawn point, shift A, cube, scale it down again. We're basically just going to be using cubes for the rest of the solo piece and the rest of the whole model. But because they're really easy to mess with. So I'm going to start with this point here. Make sure that this set here kind of lines up. And so now I'm going to go into edit mode, press tab, or press edit mode here. And select this face, press E to extrude on the x-axis, and then scale it down a little bit. And we'll move it down a little bit. We'll move these both down like that. So it's pretty bulky. We need to make it a little bit skinnier. So select the whole thing, press SY, and make it skinnier. So that's the basic shape of the guard. I'm pretty happy with it. So let's keep moving upward. So from here, you should get the idea. I'm just creating cubes, modeling the pieces individually, and creating new ones, holding down shift and right click, and just shift A and mesh cube, and just creating pieces. But I'll go ahead and show you the harder parts. So this blade portion here. So this blade is sharp, and it's going to basically like clip through this entire piece here, which is what I want. And this piece here is kind of confusing. So I should go ahead and show what those look like. So for the blade, I'm just going to use another cube. So I'm going to shift right click right here, shift A, mesh cube. I'm going to scale it quite a bit on the z-axis. So I'm going to go into edit mode, press A to select everything, press S and then Z, and scale it up quite a bit on the z-axis to make it taller. We'll move it like right about here. So that way this top face is lining up with this corner and this turning point. And it's fine that it's clipping through because it's not going to be seen anyway. So I'm going to make it skinnier. So press everything with A, S, and then Y, and then make it skinnier. Right about there. And let's extrude this piece upward. So I'm going to select this face, press E to extrude. And I'm going to select this edge right here. So go into edge mode to make a point. Just kind of close it inward a little bit. And there we go. And so now we can go ahead and make it a little bit sharper. So I'm going to select this edge, this face, and this face, and S and Y. Make it quite sharper. And do the same for this point here. So it's like kind of like wide. There we go. So now we have a blade. And so for this like little spine piece here, the back piece, we're gonna do the same thing, create a cube, shift A, cube, scale down. So S, and I'm gonna make it taller. Let's go into edit mode, S and then Z. And move this face up to about here. Because that's where there's this like point, that's where it turns. So it's this line's straight, but this line's like at an angle. So right about here is like the turning point. So I'm gonna make this piece a little bit skinnier, but I want it to be wider than the blade to make it like a little bit more like heavy. Had a little bit more structure to it. So there we go. So I'm just like this face here, or this face first. Bring it inward a little bit. And so you can see that on my annotation, this piece tapers. So in order to add a taper, we're just going to drag this piece, this edge here, and just kind of move it on the X. And so that adds a little bit of a taper. Same thing we did over here for the points. So I'm select this face, press E to extrude upward. I'm gonna grab this edge and move it a little bit inward on the X-axis. And there we go. So now we're almost done with the whole model. We just need to add a couple modifiers and shade everything smooth, or all the curved pieces smooth, but everything else can be fine. And we'll add some colors to it, and that'll be it. So to make things a little bit easier, now that I have the whole model, I can go ahead and get rid of the annotation. So I'm gonna hold down Control and just kind of erase everything. That way it's easier to see. So here's the whole model. But now we need to shade this area smooth. So right click on this piece, shade smooth, and that's pretty much it, because that's the only part that's like has a curvature to it. And because of that, I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier to help it out a little bit. So Control 1, or you can add modifier here. We'll change the render, the viewport to 2. So in order to sharpen this area out, because it's like kind of rounding out a little bit around the end, we need to add some edge loops to sharpen everything up. So press Control R here, and 1 over here. So Control R, just add edge loop, and there we go. Apply modifier. There we go. So coloring is pretty simple. All you got to do is just click on a piece, click on this button here, add a new texture, and you can set the base color to whatever you want. So I'm gonna set most of these pieces to like a grayish, like silver metallic. So change this piece here, like that. I'm gonna make the blade like a bit of a shinier piece, but most of them are gonna have the same texture. So in order to apply the same texture, you can just go with this button here. And this is one we created on this piece. So I'm gonna rename this one like maybe like dark gray. And so this piece also has that texture. So I'm add that to this piece and maybe this one. I'm gonna set the pommel also to dark gray and set maybe like the hilts to a different color. So I'm add a new texture, name it hilts. Or you can just, you can name it whatever you want. So I'm just gonna name it maybe like a specific color. So I might make it like a lighter gray. I'm gonna make the blade like a shiny metallic. And there we go. And so one more thing you can do is you can add a LED or like a glowy like texture. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna go plus. I'm gonna name this one glowy, like yellow, I guess. And so all we've done now is just name the textures. So we need to actually like add those little properties in the colors. So for the hilts, I'm just gonna set here. In order to see these textures in action, I'm gonna switch to wireframe, or not wireframe, viewport display, or look dev, or rendered, doesn't really matter, just as long as you can see the texture. So here, set the color. Name. So in order to make it more shiny, metallic, you need to turn up the metallic right here and set the roughness a little bit lower. I'm gonna make it a little bit brighter. There we go. I'm gonna make this piece like maybe like a darker black. Or darker gray. set it darker. And so in order to add that little glowy yellow, we need to go into Principled BDS Sphere and click Emission. And we're going to add an edge, like a sort of glowy like edge to the blade. So press Control R to go into once you're in edit mode here. Hold down Shift Alt in face mode. Select these faces here and assign. So it doesn't look like it's glowing too much. So we need to set the bloom. So go up here and turn on bloom. Now you can start seeing the glow. And so I said it was going to be yellow. So let's make it yellow. You can turn up the strength to make it more prominent. But I think that looks pretty cool. So now that you know how to add colors and glow textures to everything, you can essentially do whatever you want now. And I'm just going to add little extra details to have the same color as the glow. I add like little glowy bits right here, maybe on the pommel as well, just to add some extra like detail. But anyways, that'll be the end of the video. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright guys, so here's the rest of the sword. Let's say I'm pretty much done with it. I can keep going, to be honest. Like I can always add more, but I'm just gonna go ahead and stop here. That's enough. So now that you have all the pieces and all the colors and everything, you need to go in and apply your modifiers if you haven't already applied any of them. So select any pieces and just press apply. And that'll be it. So select everything, press A, and press Ctrl J to join everything together to one piece. So now we have an actual sword that we can use. I'd recommend resetting the origin point to like right about here, so that's where it'll essentially rotate. So I'm gonna set the origin to this section here. So I'm gonna go into edit mode, go into face mode, Shift Alt, select the set of faces here. I'm gonna press Shift S and set cursor to selected. It's now right click, go back into object mode and right click, set origin to 3D cursor. So now it's gonna rotate a little bit better. And there we go. So that's the end of this video. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer them. But also, I just want to thank y'all a bunch for so far for all the support y'all have given me. I wouldn't have expected my channel to get up to 100 subscribers in, well, any time at all, honestly. I wasn't expecting to get that much at all. But, like, I'm really thankful. And y'all have helped me out a bunch so far. And I plan to keep making videos, like once per week. And, once I'm up to like maybe like 500 subscribers or 1,000, I'll make another one of these kinds of videos. But until then, I'm just gonna keep making more videos showing how to model like sci-fi armor pieces and characters and stuff like this, like swords and weapons and stuff. So stick around, guys. But anyways, I hope you all guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all guys next time.